Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation. Sensorality is spatiality. What does sensorality stabilize? Looking to show the direct iteration of that syllability. So, last time we continued with our derivation and we used the term gratiality. Gratiality, the two general forms of gracious and grace. But if gratiality was a syllability syllability meaning letters to represent sound. Again, wanted to explicitly, when I say language, I mean sound. When I say linguistics, I mean letters, which are shapes. And so we're deriving spelling through syllability because letters, linguistics are geometric relationships. And so the overall A and E inversion and iteration throughout all of these different word forms that you see, it should kind of like pop out to you now. Again, the A and the E. It's very apparent in teal, in deal, in real. Just things that come to mind, but the overall presentation throughout all of language, these iteration elements should be overwhelmingly apparent. But regardless, back to grace, generalized, produces gratiality, right? And that's the direct form of gracia. And so the natural definition of syllability, again, a result outside of one language. Languages are not distinct, they're not fundamental. A sensorist is the opposite of a specialist. What is spatiality to experientiality? How does space relate to experience? Sensorality identifies obscenity. Sensorality filters obscenity. What is filtrality to orality? OMG, he just says whatever comes to mind. He has no filter. Hashtag crazy dog. I don't know. But the point being is, again, sensorality still contains this sense, is again this prefix, but it contains this complete word orality. And so we're just trying to arrive, or again, we're just progressing our derivation, and we're going to arrive at some sort of completion of syllability. Right? Things have happened in the past, are definitive. Sensorality with an S is an open definition. Sensorality with a C is what should complete, it will complete. But how does obscenity relate to orality? What is filtrality to orality? Obscenity is heinous. Sensorality is heinous,ity. And everybody knows that word from the Law and Order SVU introduction. Crimes heinous, and something like that, or something. But that's for everyone knows that reference. Heinous,ity is egregiosity. Humiliation is heinous. Sensorality humiliates. Humor humiliates. That is a natural definition. Humorality is memorality. Humorality is memorable. Morality is memorable. Morality is censorable. Sorality is censorable. Sorality is sociality. Sensorality resolves resistance. And as you can tell, if you watched the last episode, the thumbnail is not the actual title screen, because I notice, again, we're deriving spelling. So on a personal direct level, words that I've spelled 1,000 times throughout my life, it just feels so weird because we haven't stabilized this definition. Again, on the direct personal level, you're feeling my intuition. You still live in a world, I'm just demonstrating irreducibility. We're still going to scale up to, again, from rhythm to algorithm, not die, reproduce, think, is still our overall biological framework. It is what it is the form of all structured language. And so resistance, I've been spelling it with an E the entire time. But the correct spelling is resistance with an A. I corrected it on the title screen. That's why the coloring is a little darker on the thumbnail for whatever reason. And the editing software just comes out that way. But you just notice the spelling. And there's no point. Like I said, I'm demonstrating. It's clear what I'm doing. And so there's no point to consistently spell words wrong, just to overemphasize the iteration, because on a personal level it just messes with your ability to spell words. And overall I'm a decent speller, definitely not cumbersome, but at the end of these proofs it's just like, what in the world? Resistance is tension. Stance, resistance. Right? So now we've spelled it correctly, it directly has a different base, a complete word, a stance. What is a stance? Stance is posture, stance is perspective. Sensorality is perspective. Is there resistance to existence? Can I publish my paper? Does Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 of the United States Constitution work? Does the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution work? No. Is there resistance to existence? Again, the questions are rhetorical, Woodcock. Of course there's, but it's just, again, it contains the syllability, and it's in the form of it is what it is it? And it naturally presents in our derivation, because we're reducing all of this logic. Yesterday I kind of asked, are we reducing it? I think so. Again, we're just bringing down to one finalized, undeniable working definition or axiomatic definition. What is a sensor, right? So sensorality resists existence. Existence produces experience. Inanimate is the opposite of sentient. So I put that on the screen in the last episode. Again, throughout this derivation, I've said inanimate objects, and then I've explicitly stated, I feel like there's redundancy, but inanimate, sentient. Again, this, because of uniqueness, because of chronology, what is opposition, right? It's not one-to-one. Well, again, in this completion, again, opposition, you have polar opposites, but again, the proton and the electron are inverses, whereas the proton's bigger than the electron, but they both have one unit of charge. And so this numeric syllability, does natural opposition, is it 3 to 3 syllables, 4 to 4 syllables, 3 to 4 syllables? And growing, trivially, is getting bigger, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What fundamental differentiations are possible to be made? And it's back to absorb, absorbing, absorption. That B to the P flipping is like this limit of 2. I'm big, I'm bigger, I'm biggerest. No, it's I'm the most big, or there's this stability of 2, which is part of this completion. But the numeric relationship of when I say inanimate is the opposite of sentient, logically that makes sense. And then inanimate has 4 syllables, sentient has 3, is the natural opposition, the same numeric syllability. All of which resolves with the final demonstration, and all of which has already been resolved for speciality, which is this whole complete analytical process, because the overall mechanism doesn't change, right? It's just a specific solution, and I have nothing else to do, and I have no constitutional rights still. And my life is fucking miserable. But moving along. Fraud is illegitimate. Oh, how convenient and how relevant. Real is legitimate, right? Syllability there. What word jumps out at you that we've used recently? Mitigate. Legitimate, mitigate. Sensorality is legit. Sensorality senses legitimacy. Legitimacy, intimacy. Mass is characteristic, right? It's characteristic of charge. It emerges from this fundamental dichotomy. We call that dichotomy charge. Character is positive, right? But character is emergent. And it is, both fundamentally physically and your character emotionally. We can state the fundamental theorem of symbolism. A letter is a character. And so sensorality is representativity, right? Characters represent sounds. Sound is the irreducible physical thing that syllables represent. And so again, back to this, we have some sort of irreducibility for sure. Words are irreducible for sure. Syllables are irreducible for sure. You take some sort of sequencing of irreducibility of syllables in order, you get an irreducible word. It's like the maximum efficiency of linguistics. And so that's kind of thought is still present, because syllables make up words. Syllables are based on sounds. Sounds are discrete because mass is discrete, and sounds emerge from movement. All very clear. Just developing our derivation until, again, we have this direct literal statement of what sensorality is, producing our definition. And reducing, again, I think reducing is an appropriate word. But regardless, the last kind of thing is now we have this inversion. We've described and geometrically derived the alphabet as much as possible. And so very literally at this point, this is where it's like the direct to H index is infinite because you have to use language. And there are clearly shapes and characters or geometric relationships. And so it's like, again, it is what it is in the sense you're born. The Roman alphabet exists, the Cyrillic alphabet exists, the Hindi script exists. These different symbols, these shapes, these characters, these alphabets representing sound. But I've derived it. Oh, but again, it's kind of like a lemma. Like at this point, the entire alphabet is like a lemma, and we're going to show and stabilize that lemma with the final proof, again, with this direct iteration of sensorality. But again, we've already done it with speciality. But at this point, again, it makes direct, immediate academic sense to say, right, if you use shapes, you would have every obligation to cite all of my work. But then all of the, again, like we're exhausting all of logic. I mean, there's nothing else to derive or prove. Again, at this like fundamental level. But the relationship of consistency and resistancy. Consistency and resistance. The spelling difference of, right, re and con. Con is like contra, against, opposition. Re is again, so our prefix logic is still there. Again, this existence, inversion to differentiation. Maximum differentiation is opposition. That stabilizes. That is our dichotomy. And that dichotomy is irreducible. It is indivisible. And so this prefix and suffix, mostly prefix in terms of this inversion differentiation process, is that's how it manifests linguistically. Logically, what these words mean, consistency versus resistance. And then we have that spelling, resistance with the A to stance, and consistency with the E and, sense. Again, continuing on, my rights continue to be violated. Don't know what else to say. I keep saying it in every video. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Please, somebody who's torturing me, please pay me. See you on the next time.